Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for the Minnesota Senate District 47 special election. My name is Lori Steiger, and I'm the President and CEO of the Woodbury Area Chamber of Commerce. Before we get started, we're going to go through some guidelines and format for this candidate forum. The Woodbury Area Chamber of Commerce provides a platform to allow candidates to share their positions and viewpoints. The Chamber is a neutral party in these forums and does not endorse any candidate. This forum will be run with civility and respect for candidates, and candidates will speak respectfully to one another. There will be zero tolerance for audience members who lack civility. This event is being filmed by True Lens Community Media, and a link to the recorded session will be on the Chamber website and available for viewing on the True Lens website. The questions today were generated by the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee as well as submitted by members at large. There will not be time allotted for questions from attendees, but we do ask that the candidates make themselves available following the forum to answer any questions from today's attendees. Candidates will each have up to 2 minutes for opening statements and closing statements. And candidates will be provided with the same questions, and we will alternate who answers the question first. You will each get 2 minutes to respond to the question, and I will serve as the timekeeper. When you have 30 seconds remaining, I will raise my hand to let you know you have the full 2 minutes, and you will be stopped when the time is reached. Our moderator today is the Woodbury Chamber Government Affairs Chair and owner of Image 360, Gina Kazmersky, and I will turn it over to Gina.
Thank you, Lori. Welcome, Dwight Dora and Amanda Hemmingson-Yeager, and thank you for your representation and participation in the process on behalf of the Chamber. As Lori said, we're going to go back and forth. We'll start with different candidates each time, and we're going to start with a 2-minute opening statement. Dwight, I'm going to have you start first.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event. It's always a great time coming here to get the candidates' viewpoints out. I'd like to thank the audience. This is a nice change. We didn't have an audience during the League of Women Voters forum, so that's really nice to have that. As an introduction to the audience, I am Dwight Dora. I'm a father, a Minnesotan, a husband. I'm an Air Force veteran, and my wife Gina, who's in here, is also an Air Force veteran, so we come from a background of the military here. I was a KC-135 navigator. I was a 3-time commander, and I flew in missions over Afghanistan. And now, in my retirement days, I teach Air Force Junior ROTC at St. Paul Johnson, which is an inner city school. The program is a program where we teach students, we call them cadets, to be good citizens. So we teach them to be citizens of character, dedicated to serving their nation and their community. And so it's a wonderful opportunity, and I really enjoy that job. Really briefly, I think Minnesota is pretty far off track right now, and I think we need to get it back on track. It's been very non-bipartisan, or I should say it's been fairly partisan over these past few years, and we have had some incredible overspending. We have a 40% increase in our budget. We have seen an $18 billion surplus go away, and we're now seeing huge amounts of fraud, including in something, an area close to me, which is autism schools. And we need economic growth, and we need it now. I'd respectfully request your vote, please, and you can find out more about me and my platform at votefordwight.com. Thank you.
And Amanda?
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Amanda Hemmingson-Yeager. I just want to say thank you all for being here in person. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting this forum. Thank you for moderating. And lastly, thank you to everybody who is watching either live or after this airs. So a little bit about me. I'm a mom of 2 kids. I work full-time. I grew up in greater Minnesota in Wabasha, but now we have set our roots here in Woodbury, and have really been, it's been exciting to see Woodbury and the East Metro grow as economic leaders kind of in the state. I've been honored to represent the communities of South Maplewood and Woodbury since 2022, and I'm proud to say that the A-side border has never really been Radio Drive or Woodbury Drive. I've been really proud of the relationships I've been able to cultivate across the cities of Maplewood and Woodbury, constituents in Washington County and Ramsey County, and that makes me really well equipped, I think, to serve as the next senator. I also have a background in science and policy. I have a bachelor's and a master's in genetics, as well as a master's in policy. And I think this really makes me well equipped to have thoughtful conversations, practical solutions, really focusing on listening and gathering data, and then thinking of downstream consequences so we can pass the best policies that we can. I look forward to using that education, my legislative experience, and stories from people like you in the community to continue advocating for Senate District 47, and I look forward to this afternoon's discussion.
Thank you. All right, we'll move into the question portion of the program right now. We're just going to start from the top and move on down. So we're going to start first with Amanda Hemmingson-Yager. What is your position on expanding the Minnesota state sales tax to include professional services? And a further explanation of that for the audience would be Governor Walz's administration proposed changes to the state sales tax that would expand the tax to include professional services, including legal, accounting, brokerage, and some bank services.
Great. This is a really great and interesting question. So first, I just want to say that I appreciate the creativity that people try to bring forth when we're looking at ways to make things consistent or ways to make things more even. I also appreciate with this is that you noted that it was Governor Walz's administration proposal. And this is what's really nice about the separation between our executive branch, the governor and his agencies, and then the legislative branch, me and the legislature. And this particular question generated a lot of discussion in the community. And I just want to say that I very much appreciate all of the feedback and emails and phone calls that I received, because it helped me get a really good idea of how this would impact the small businesses. I heard from a lot of divorce attorneys, child protection attorneys, small businesses that help mostly in the legal services. But that gives me the real impact and those downstream consequences I was talking about, to then either go to the author and try to advocate for people to make it better, or when it comes to decision time and we had to vote yes or no, I could have the strength and confidence of my community behind me when I make those decisions.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Dwight Dora?
Yes, so this has generated a lot of scuttlebutt, as they say, and I tell you what, as a senator, I will vigorously oppose this new tax. The sole reason behind this tax is to find more income for the state because of the oncoming fiscal cliff that was caused with the spending of the surplus and then the increase of the budget by $10 billion. And so what we're seeing here is, we've already seen the sales tax go up 1%. The gas tax is up 20 cents per gallon. Property taxes I see are going up 10.7%. And even South Washington County schools, due to some unfunded education mandates, are going up as well, with an anticipated shortfall of $2.2 million. So the governor is simply finding a way to walk off the fiscal cliff, get down from that ledge that he created with the budget a couple of years ago. And so I would instead, as senator, I would propose that we try to freeze spending or reduce it some if we can, and to maybe reduce taxes as well, because you can reduce spending or you can increase taxes, and those are two different ways where you can help this item, getting us back on track. However, the best way is economic growth. And so to do that, we need our government to do just like you and I do in our homes. We need to live within our means, and we need to quit finding new ways to do taxing on our people in Woodbury and South Maplewood. In fact, we even have a 50-cent delivery fee now. So they're looking at every way, the governor himself is looking at every single way to squeeze more money to prevent us from hitting that cliff, when we should just be tightening our belts. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next question, we're going to start with Dwight. Minnesota's business tax rates are often described as higher than those in many other states. How do you think this affects residents and the state's economy?
Yeah, so Minnesota just had the dubious honor a couple of years ago of becoming the highest corporate tax state in the nation. We took that distinction over from New Jersey a couple of years ago. And the results of that have been pretty tremendous. I mean, we have lost $5 billion alone just in revenue alone, just to people moving into the state of Wisconsin. That doesn't include all of the other states out there. So people are moving, residents are leaving, businesses are moving. There's several stories about that recently in the Pioneer Press, and it really hurts Minnesota's economy. So once again, I'm going to go back to what we really need. The way out of this is not to increase taxes and find new ways of collecting from hardworking Minnesota families, but we need economic growth. And one of the best ways to do that is a 20% cut in the business tax. This would put us at almost the exact same level as Wisconsin, and we can increase our competitiveness with our biggest state as far as economy goes, right next to the Twin Cities area. We'll keep businesses here. We'll have an economic boom. We'll have new hiring. We'll have businesses adding on, expanding, and we will attract new businesses from Wisconsin for a change. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda, would you like for me to repeat it, or are you good?
I'm okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I guess I want to start out, like Minnesota, we're a state and we're a community that cares for our neighbors. And these, the taxes that we pay go towards services that we all need. It pays for our public safety. It pays for our water infrastructure, our education, our schools. And we know that our services need to change because we know we also have an aging population, and we need to make sure we're addressing that. We can do it in a balanced way, either through, property taxes at the city and county level, or we can be strategic when we're looking at how we tax statewide in Minnesota. I would like to focus kind of on the larger corporations that try to monopolize and put the small businesses out. I think we can look to them and have a higher tax rate for those kind of corporations to make sure that we are still caring for our small businesses, we are still caring for our working class. And I think we have a really, good economy here in Minnesota because Minnesotans were educated, we're hardworking, and that shows in the businesses that want to recruit and stay in Minnesota. We have, Fortune 500 companies that choose to stay in Minnesota because of the workers that we have here. And when I look monthly, we get monthly updates on how revenues are coming in, and over and over, month after month, I'm seeing revenues actually coming in higher than the February forecast. So that gives me hope, but I still want to make sure that we keep an eye on it because we have a lot of uncertainty coming ahead, and I want to make sure that we are looking out for our people, our working class, and our small businesses.
Great, thank you very much. Next question, we're going to start with Amanda first. And again, I will just say, if you want me to repeat the question when it's your turn, let me know. I won't ask again on it. What do you see as the most pressing issue facing residents of Woodbury and the surrounding district, and how would you address them as state senator?
Great question. So the issues I commonly hear about, and probably the top three that I've gotten in my inbox, center around education, climate change in the environment, and healthcare. And I will say recently, as I've been talking to more neighbors on door knocking, again, the federal uncertainty is really starting to become a big concern because we don't know what's happening, we don't know what's going to happen next. And as a state senator, I will do what I've done, continue to do what I've done as a House representative, and that is putting people first. Taking your stories, advocating for them, sharing them at the Capitol, standing strong on protections for our environment, making sure we continue to have PFAS bans so we can take care and get good clean water. But making sure that we can insulate ourselves from the harmful policies coming down as much as we can, because people need and the people want to be able to pay for healthcare. We don't want to have to choose between getting a prescription and getting groceries, or going to the doctor and paying the rent. So I guess that's what I can commit to as a state senator, is continue to advocate for you at the Capitol to make sure we put your needs first.
Great. Dwight, can you
Okay.
answer that question?
Thank you. Yeah, this is a good question, and it changes from person to person, but one of the most immediate ones is the water issue. And so I'm trying to be a very big advocate for helping our water situation. My wife and I had to leave early to get here because of all the construction with the water projects going on. And it's not so much the projects themselves, it's that the legislature has not helped out Woodbury very much very recently. So, for example, there is a sales tax exemption that the city of Woodbury has tried to get. Now, before I talked to the city manager and the mayor and some of the city council members, I didn't know that that was a thing. I thought cities did not have to pay for sales taxes. But on the $300 million treatment plant, Woodbury's currently paying sales tax. So that's something simple that a legislator could do, and that's something I would like to work with Amanda when she's in the House and I'm in the Senate. We can come together in a bipartisan fashion, and we can get that past the finish line. In addition, there are additional water facilities and infrastructure needed beyond the 3M settlement. And that was not planned for. So I want to look for additional bonding for that. We need a new water tower, $14 million there. I'm going to vigorously pursue that, and I want to get these done. And then secondly, there's an issue that the current legislature has tried to push down onto Woodbury and Maplewood, and that is housing zoning that the legislature was trying to make the city councils do. And I just will not support that at all. Our city councils and our mayors in this district are doing a great job, and I support them 100%, and that's what they're voted to do at the local level.
Thank you very much. All right, the next question will start with Dwight Dora. What policies would you support to strengthen small businesses and attract new jobs to our district?
Okay, well, this one is a little bit sort of a repeat of the first one or the second one, but once again, I'm going to focus on reducing our business taxes. We need to create new jobs, and if you know, I'm just going to reiterate the 20%. It's so important to our business community. If we can get that business tax down, it is going to create an economic boom. All of the indicators say that that's right, and there's other states we can look at right now who are going through this very thing I'm talking about. So economic growth is very important. A second thing, well, let me just finish on that. Can you just imagine, you business owners out there, what would you do with 20% more money in your pocket? How many people could you hire? How many expansions could you make? What could you do with your business? I just think, I'm not an entrepreneur myself, but I kind of wish I was if I was looking at something like this. And then, you know, there's a lot of regulations on our businesses. There's a lot of red tape, and in my view, some of them are a little overbearing. Talking to some business owners where they would like to see some lessening of some of the Minnesota state regulations on them. Now, obviously, we want them to treat their employees well. We don't want them polluting the environment. Things like that we need to keep, but freeing them up a little bit there. And then finally, this goes to individuals. I think we need to eliminate or greatly reduce our lowest income tax bracket for individuals. Right now, it's 5.3%, and a family of four that makes up to $39,000 is paying that. And I think that's wrong. We need to be looking out for our young families as they start to raise children, our young singles who have a hard time finding a rental. And so that's the third and final thing I'd like to do.
Same question. Back to Amanda.
Right, thank you. So one of the things I can think of to strengthen our small businesses and attract new jobs to our district is, again, making sure our small businesses and keeping that business local and supporting the people within our community, to look at ways that we can prevent monopolization, for example, or look at ways that we can bring things in-house. I think we can look at creative ways that we move people around the city. We have the Gold Line that has just come in, which has been great for bringing people into Woodbury. But if you're not along, if you have to get anywhere past Bielenberg Drive, it's a little more difficult. Microtransit has helped a ton, but it doesn't cover all of Woodbury. So looking at ways where we can move people around to get people to those businesses and to get people to those jobs. I also support policies that support people. So people, business owners, and employees can be secure in having, one job, so they can be secure in making their ends meet. And finally, I will just put a plug. I love carrying constituent ideas. You guys are the ones on the front lines doing the work every day, and I'm always open to looking at creative ways that we can solve problems together, and to really, that helps make really good policy, and it makes it become more implementable.
All right, thank you. The next question will start with Amanda Hemmingson-Yeager. How should Minnesota balance being competitive for businesses with maintaining enough revenue to fund public services?
Yeah, I think this is a tough question that, everybody's really thinking about. And again, I will just say, with that scientific approach, that knowledge of policy, intentionally engaging with the community, like, we can have a really great discussion. We can have a thoughtful approach in how we can best support our businesses, support that local competition, and make sure that, again, we are putting some of the tax burden on those larger corporations that depend on, small businesses for contracts, that depend on workers to make those big profits. So again, we can think creatively, comprehensively, holistically. Engaging with people helps us think about the downstream consequences. Well, if we try this, and this could happen, or maybe that would happen over there. And that's, again, how we can get something really robust. We can get it passed bipartisanly, and we can make sure that it actually works when it does get passed into law, that people can operationalize it and incorporate it.
Thank you. Dwight.
Yes, so the question is, how can we balance being competitive for businesses with maintaining enough revenue to fund public services? So I wanted to repeat that because I don't think there's a balance there at all. I think both of them are off the scale completely. I think we're not competitive. We just talked about how Minnesota is losing $5 billion in tax revenue to Wisconsin or how we have lost it over the past 3 years. We used to be very competitive in certain fields, IT fields, remember IBM and different companies like that. And then the medical field, Medtronics and other awesome businesses like that. And now we see these great businesses seeking out other states all over the place, in the South, in the Southwest, and other states. So the competitive part, we've lost the bubble on that one. And then for fully funding our public services, why do you think that Governor Walz now wants to add $6 billion to the budget? We've already added the $10 billion after the $18 billion was spent. We increased by 40%. We're looking at new ways to garner revenue from everybody, including a 50-cent delivery fee here in the metro area. And so this fiscal cliff should not surprise anybody. It's not sustainable. And so what are we doing, right? I think we need to come to grips with reality, and we need to spend what we need and tax appropriately. Going back to 2022, before, when we had that great big amount of money that was left over, and then we foolishly spent it and raised the budget as well. So while I'm senator, I'm gonna vote to keep spending down while reducing taxes. Taxing more and more is just gonna hurt us more and more, and economic growth is truly the only way out of this.
Thank you. The next question will start with Dwight Dora. What steps should the legislature take to ensure Minnesota remains an attractive place for both new investment and existing business?
Okay, I'm gonna be a little quicker on this one, I hope, because it's kind of the same question as the last one, just worded a little differently, but bottom line is, I think lower taxes, lower spending, and living within our means is the way to do this. And to grow our economy, to attract new investment, and to help businesses. And I mentioned earlier some states that are that are experimenting with these things, right? So we have the state of California, for example, is a very high-tax state. And they're finding new and different ways of taxing their citizens and their businesses. And we see they're going to probably lose 4 congressional seats in the 2030 redistricting because so many people are moving out. And if you juxtapose that with Texas, for example, a very low-tax state, business-friendly state, and the companies are flocking into there. A microcosm of that, to a much smaller degree, but it's still there, is Minnesota and Wisconsin, right? So we need to at least even out with them to try to keep our people here, and we should try to one-up them and treat it as a competition to see who can get all these businesses moving in instead of having them and workers moving out.
Thank you. Amanda, same question?
Thank you. I think, again, first and foremost, we need to invest in our people. We need to make sure that we're supporting our workers, supporting our businesses, and making sure that they have the tools they need to be competitive. Second, I have already established a great relationship with our federal delegation, and that relationship helps me advocate our needs to Representative Betty McCollum, to Senator Smith, who will be leaving shortly, to Senator Klobuchar, and that helps solicit federal money to come to Woodbury and to Maplewood. Like I said before, we are an economic driver in the East Metro, and we need to make sure that we have the resources to be able to maintain that standing. And I think when we support and invest in our people, we invest in their ideas, we get really cool things happening. Like, for example, I just heard about a new business that opened that creates magnets without using critical minerals. So that is it's creative problem solving, and when we can invest in our people, then that's going to bring jobs and business and everything, and keep it in Minnesota.
Thank you. All right, the next question, we'll start with Amanda again. How do you view the role of the state in making higher education and job training more accessible and affordable?
I really think the state has a large role in that, and I think an example is in our E-12 education. We noticed that after a decade of negligent funding, we were in a really rough shape, and because of some substantial funding, it's not enough, but we've been able to kind of help support our schools a little bit more. And I think we should be able to do that with higher education and job training as well. Again, supporting the student in whatever job or career that they're looking at, whether it's trades or academia or business school or public administration, we need to be able to make sure that we're supporting these kids. And that is because our population, again, and the job skills are changing. We need to make sure that we're supporting retraining people that want to stay in the job force but maybe don't have the skills for the type of technologies and jobs that are coming online now. And we want to make sure that we have and we keep our talented, hardworking workforce in Minnesota. And when we do all of that, it keeps Minnesota competitive for businesses. It keeps us competitive for people wanting to move in and for families to grow.
Wonderful, thank you. And Dwight, same question?
Yes, so Amanda said it there. She said we are in a really rough state, and even despite all this added spending and all the added mandates, we are still in a really bad state. I love this question. I'm a teacher. I know the importance of a good education. It's our greatest legacy and the greatest leg up. No matter where you come from, if you can get an education, you can make a great person out of your life. You can become anything you want to become. To keep higher education and job training accessible, you first need to have students, graduates that actually know how to read or write, right, and do math. Right now, greater than 50% of our students, despite all this spending in Minnesota, cannot read at grade level or do math at grade level. So it's inaccessible to them. Secondly, the diploma doesn't mean anything. Minnesota keeps looking at the graduation rate and saying, oh, we're graduating 95 or 97% of our students. Yes, but if they can't fill out a job application or do math, they are not going to do very well getting a job. I actually have a friend who lives in Minneapolis who teaches high school graduates how to do fractions and how to use tape measures, trying to help them be able to get construction jobs and enter that. So I will vote to implement robust English and math classes, and all the rest of it is noise. I don't care what it is. If you can't read when you graduate from school, we are doing something wrong. I don't care if it's $500 million or $7 billion. We're doing something wrong. And then to keep it affordable, I support FAFSA, I support grants, student loans. I used all these things myself, but also a hard work ethic where you get your own personal job. And I also, is that time? Okay, thank you.
We're at our last question before the closing. And we're going to start with Dwight.
Okay.
How would you work across party lines to achieve results in any area for our district?
Yeah, I really, really love this question, and I have it on all my videos and on my website, which is votefordwight.com. Please don't forget to go to votefordwight.com. I hearken back to the days of Kathy Salzman, who was a Democrat here in Woodbury, and Mary Giuliani Stevens, who was a Republican, and how they would put aside their differences and get together and create, if you think about it, they created the Woodbury that we know and love today. And I'm not trying to leave my Maplewood friends out. I'm sure there are some great examples over there as well. But coming together and talking just like we're doing this evening, very cordially, is what I plan to do. I plan to take Amanda and Ethan, our two representatives, with me, and we're going to work together on bills that are good for Woodbury and good for Maplewood. And we're going to put aside our petty politics, and we're going to stand up and do the right things. And we're not going to have this same atmosphere over the past few years of very solid, just almost unbelievable partisanship. We got to get over that. We're not going to agree on everything, that's for sure, right? But we can agree on the things that make common sense to our community and move that forward and convince our fellow representatives out there. So put politics aside for the good of our communities.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then Amanda, same question.
Thank you. I really appreciate this question as well because I do have a record of working across the aisle in a bipartisan manner. And I think one of my favorite bills is a bill that was brought to me by the Woodbury Police Department. And through working with the Woodbury Police Department, the Department of Commerce, and then working with Republicans across the aisle, we were able to secure some consumer protections at those virtual currency, those Bitcoin kiosks, to protect people who were getting scammed. And so that was a really fun bill to work on because it was community and it was across the aisle, and it shows that when we center on our values and our common, what we have in common, and we focus on the problem and a solution to that problem, like we can get a lot of really cool things done. A couple other bills that I worked on that I'm really proud of is working on food security, and that's going to become even more important. People want to make sure their communities have food and can eat. So, I worked in a bipartisan fashion as the co-vice chair on the Veterans and Military Affairs Committee to make sure that our veterans were taken care of with food security, with veterans' homes. I also worked across the aisle to make sure that you can put solar panels on your home, should you choose. And another one that's very close to my heart because of genetics is I worked with Republicans to make sure we could get rapid whole genome sequencing covered by insurance to make sure that we can get diagnoses to these really frail babies sooner and get them treatment sooner so they can have longer lives. So you can see when you center on values and when you center on the problem, you have a lot of really great solutions that can come out of it, and I think we are stronger as a community for it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now we're going to move to the closing. Each of you will have 2 minutes, or do we have time to do 3-minute closing, Lori? Okay, we're going to go for 3 minutes this time. And we're going to start with Amanda again on the 3-minute close. So go ahead.
Cool. Well, I just want to say thanks again. I've really appreciated the discussion. I've appreciated kind of getting feedback and nods from people once in a while. But I really appreciate the questions too. I think it was a really good way for me to have a good understanding, deeper understanding of what's going on specifically with the chamber and with our small businesses. And I want to thank the audience and again, thank those who are watching online. And I just want to reiterate that we are at a time where thoughtful leadership is really important. I have a record of this leadership with how I thoroughly develop my bills, my ability to work across the aisle, and for advocating for the people of South Maplewood and Woodbury. As a senator, I would continue to lead on the values that are important to our community, including access to affordable health care, caring for our seniors and veterans, protecting our environment, and looking out for our families. I am on the social medias, so Facebook and Instagram. You can also check out my website, amandaformn.com. I look forward to staying in touch and hopefully earning your votes. Just so you know, early voting is open right now. You can go down to the New Services Center and cast your vote early. Otherwise, the big election day is November 4th. So thanks again.
Thank you. And Dwight?
Yes, thank you to the chamber for hosting this again. I really appreciate it. And thank you to the audience. It's wonderful to have people in the audience, and to all you watching online, I really appreciate it. I'd like to just mention that for Maplewood residents, they can go to 90 Plato West and vote early there as well, in addition to what Amanda said for the voters here in Woodbury. My website is votefordwight.com. I have so many more issues that I would like you to read about. I don't have time to talk here tonight about all those. They only gave me 3 minutes to close. But in talking with voters, outdoor knocking on the telephone, people calling me, people sending me emails, I've tried to get a huge smattering of topics out there and where we stand on those. And finally, I would humbly ask for your vote this year. I feel like my heart's in it. I want to represent Woodbury and Maplewood the best I can. I want to represent you well, and you can always call me. My number is 651-494-4009. I don't have any problem handing that out because I want to hear from you. Things do look bleak right now in Minnesota, but I know that we can restore trust in leadership. We can restore hope again. And as Amanda said, and I concur, we can do it in a bipartisan fashion. I'll be the senator, you be the representative, and we'll get it done. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
All right, thank you both for being here today on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank you for both your contributions and your candidacy in this special election, and voting day is November 4th. Thank you.